So far we know how to log into AWS. We created our first function called Hello World. Now this is not enough. If you create an API, security is must. That's why you might have seen our tag videos that AWS, the bouncer, the API gateway, that video I'm talking about. If you have not watched so far, please go and take a look. It's a very good video. I've used an AI tool to create that. And now coming back to the actual course. What I mean, AWS bouncer, the API gateway, I tag them. I name this way because then I'm easily able to identify out of thousands of services is coming these days, hundreds from clouds, Google Cloud, from Azure, from AWS, and so many open source. That's why if you tag it with your own memory, it helps you memorize what actual usage are. Now, what I mean to say about API gateway, I'll show you, and then you'll get to know why I'm calling API gateway as a bouncer and helps Lambda for security. Now you know that this is your Lambda first example that you had created. Okay. Now let's go back to the function again and create one more function for you. Call it Lambda with security. I hope I'm spelling it correctly. Lambda with security. I again don't want Node.js. You can have it if you wish. Do not hesitate to do that. People from AWS are supporting all this language so that globally all the developers can use it. It's not necessarily you use Python. I'm using it Python, and this is widely accepted these days. You can use an Node.js as well. So you created your functions here. Like I said, it takes a moment to create all underneath configurations for you. Like you see, it is created. And I'm not going to repeat my previous session right now, like how you test all other things. You see the code here. Again, by default, it is populated. Now, let's see what I want to see here. What is trigger? So, as the name indicates, it actually trigger is something that initiate your invoke. So, I'll tell you what and how it is useful for a Lambda. Because Lambda, you just give a function name. You have not designed this as an API call right now. Right now, we are going to do that. So you call add trigger. You select an API gateway. You call a create new API, and now there are a variety of options. Let me go for the HTTP API, and then I'll talk about REST API. You create an HTTP API, and you call it open, and you add it. Well, your new API for your Lambda function is added. Where you can see that. Go to the configuration tab and call on triggers. There you go. This is the URL. HTTPS, all this big name, and then your Lambda with security. If you click on this, you will see the actual message, hello from Lambda. Now, when you know, like in software industry, people used to develop their APIs, they finally gave, hey, my service is running on this particular URL. You can go and very much use that. So you just hand over your URL, and while I'm talking, this is live. And if you get chance to click on the same URL, you will get the same message that I am doing. Now, there's a big problem. The problem is this is not secure. Anybody can call it, and this is not the right way of creating an API. You must need a security. Now, in order to do that, what we do is let's create the trigger again. You go here. Understand this step very carefully because if you are going to develop Lambda, I must recommend you use API Gateway to invoke that Lambda. There are situations where you call Lambda functions directly as well. We'll talk about those, but if you're calling it externally, you call it to an API Gateway. Now you call an add trigger again. Now you have a bunch of drop down, a lot of options here. You can't go with all. For now, in this session, just click on create an API gateway and call a create new API. This time, choose an REST API. And from security, call open. I'm not calling IAM right now because IAM needs a separate understanding what it is. Then we can better understand what is IAM. So let's call it open for now and just call it add. You have a new API created, just Lambda with security like you see here. And let's go on this API. Now here we go, differences. This is the HTTP, the first one that we had created. And this is the second one, which is the REST. So API type is different. Now you come here, Lambda with security in any means any type of HTTP protocol that you want to call, whether it's a GET, POST, is a patch or delete or any other request. Now you see here, you have a beautiful picture that AWS gives us. That this is a client like my machine, where I'm teaching right now. It makes a request, go to an integration request, execute a Lambda code, give you a response back, again a method response to your client. This is how it travels. And that's a normal view in any request that you see. Now the important part is currently the API key required is a false here. You click on edit, make it API key required, leave test as it is, click on save. Now your API key has been deployed. Like you see here, the API key is required. Now one important part, you come here and I'll show you. By the time I'm teaching you right now, it's 2:56 a.m. IST. I'm shooting everything in night because it gives me more easy way of recording my things for the best quality. Okay, so let's go here and you click on this. You see it is still working, hello from Lambda. Suddenly it will stop because you have created a API key required and you are going to deploy this. Let's call it the default stage and you deploy this. What I want to show here is you have deployed a new configuration, which is an API key value. So you click on the plus sign here, again a plus sign, and the Lambda with security. If you click on this, you will see delete, get, head, options, patch, post, and put. All the method type with authorization is a none, but API key as a required. Now you go here on the Lambda back again, and you click on this. It is still coming hello from Lambda, but soon it will be a forbidden. Now understand this concept. Many times I see the developer who used to allow, like I said, hey, go just make API key required. And you do that, he say, hey, you know what? Even I do not pass the key, it is allowing me to do that. Now you see, it is calling message forbidden because when you deploy, it takes some time to digest the system. I mean, reflect the system. Now it is already done. Many times it kills a full day of a developer to identify the simple issue. So just be careful on this. Now, what I'm going to tell you as a next is